welcome to my One Piece channel. If you are new here, I'm Kaniti, and if you're already watching this channel, welcome back. Today I want to talk about the latest chapter, discuss it a bit, share a bit of my theories and speculations. So if you are not reading manga or you did not read the latest chapter, there will be huge spoilers for you in this video because I will discuss the events of the latest chapter 985. So if you don't want to get spoiled, please keep in mind this video will be full of spoilers. And without further ado, let's get to it, let's go! So basically I want to talk about Orochi and Kaido, I think the main highlight of this chapter, and a bit about other things like Kiku versus Kanjuro, but mostly about Orochi. We were told that pirate alliances do not end well, and we already had evidence of this in face of Apu, for example, betraying other supernovas in their alliance versus Kaido, and now we have another evidence. Yes, admittedly, Orochi is not a pirate himself, but he allied himself with a pirate, and he himself can be considered a criminal, not particularly a pirate, but still not a regular person. Not a person with high moral standards, you know? So Orochi expecting this loyalty from Kaido was a bit too much. He became too full of himself, thinking that Kaido will always be here to protect him, and thinking that everything will stay the same forever. But Big Mom coming here probably gave this surge of motivation to Kaido, and he thought, no, that's enough of sitting on my ass and drinking all day. I'll team up with Big Mom and we will be a powerhouse, and then we will basically take over the world, take these ancient weapons, turn over all the world government, tear it away, and go after One Piece. And Orochi became just a pawn, an obstacle that was standing in Kaido's way. There is a possibility that from the very beginning of the day, when he allied himself with Big Mom, he had this thought, well, I don't need Orochi anymore anyway, and he is very irritating, so probably if he objects my new Onigashima plan, I will deal with him immediately, because he is here just as an irritating obstacle. I will deal with him and it won't be my headache anymore. Or maybe it was not planned and he was like in this moment, damn, this Orochi, again buzzing something about what he wants. Do I need this? No. And right at this moment, during his speech, Kaido took this decision and decided to sever Orochi's head. So the question of trust in pirate alliances is a very interesting one, because Orochi trusted Kaido to some extent, even though he himself was not a fully good and loyal kind of person. He would betray Kaido himself if he needed to, if he got the chance, but he did not expect this betrayal coming from Kaido because he became too full of himself. We saw his journey from his backstory, how he started, and how other Kurozumi survivors instilled in his head that you are Kurozumi, you are to be shogun, you are destined for greatness, and that went to his head, and he thought a lot of himself. So for him it was a moment of shock, if he even had that moment before he supposedly died. I say supposedly because the big question is Orochi actually really dead? Can he come back, and how? And most importantly, does he have any purpose left to serve in the story? The scene itself was pretty gruesome for One Piece, and it looked final. His head was severed. Nobody can survive after this. But we have to keep in mind that Orochi is a user of an ancient zone, and it is an actual devil fruit. It is not a smile, so it has its full potential, its full powers. And we can't know for sure every detail of every devil fruit, how it actually works. Yes, he has this devil fruit of Yamato no Orochi, a mythological Japanese creature with 8 heads, a serpent kinda like a dragon. And yes, Orochi only has 8 heads. When he enters this full form of Yamato no Orochi, his own form, but what if still, while he is human, this devil fruit continues working? And he can't be dead when only one of his heads was severed. And he can turn into Yamato no Orochi, but he will only have 7 heads instead of 8. Meanwhile, we have to look at the legend that surrounds Yamato no Orochi, because in the legend, the storm god Susanoo, I'm not really sure if I'm pronouncing the name right, but I hope I didn't butcher it too much. So Susanoo, he made Yamato no Orochi drunk, and while this drunkard was out, Susanoo severed all 8 heads, all 8 of them. And that's, well, actually I read even a legend that he just cut Yamato no Orochi in pieces. But also at the same time we have a very similar legend in Greek mythology of Hydra. And in Hydra's case it had, I think, 9 heads, and all of them had to be severed at the exact same time. So the idea is pretty similar, and I think what happened here in this chapter, severing Orochi's head, it fits so well with this legend. We can't really draw a parallel between storm god Susanoo and Kaido, aside from the fact that Kaido is a dragon and he can kind of partly control the weather, so he can be seen as some kind of storm god, especially since he's a dragon, and dragon can be seen as god, so it's not a complete 100% full analogy, but we can see some parallels here at least. So it can be perceived as this storm god destroying Yamato no Orochi. In this case, Orochi lost his head. But yes, the difference is that Yamato no Orochi lost all 8 of them. But here, Kaido only severed 1. And this is where I'm kind of two minds, because on one hand, yes, it is a very fitting end for Orochi, and it kind of goes hand to hand a bit with the legend. But on the other hand, yes, only 1 head out of 8, so there is still a possibility of him returning, having only 7 heads. Basically, we have a way for Orochi to return, but is it really needed? Do we need him in the story? Yes, he is a major antagonist and he went down just like that. It can be surprising, but it is a good twist, and it would be nice to stay this way, because him coming back can dampen this moment of sudden, gruesome death that had a lot of impact on us as readers. Yes, we do not care about Orochi, we are not sad that he died, but we are surprised, and this moment was not scary, but as I said, it was terrible, it was gruesome, and him surviving this would, as I said, downplay this moment. Also for this weak, unlikable, irritating coward, it is a fitting end to just suddenly die just like this. And also because he kind of betrayed the reigning shogun Oden and Oden's father. He betrayed this family basically because he gained their trust first and then went against them. And for him to die from betrayal himself, it does make a fitting end. And also, I promised to talk about Kiku and her bloody sword, because Kiku cried and we saw it was her legs obviously, and it was her sword, and there was blood coming from the sword dripping, and she was crying. Why? Did she kill Kanjuro? It would make sense for her to cry because Kanjuro was her friend for quite a long time, and even though he is a betrayer, he is a traitor, still he was their friend. And yes, she can cry because of all these feelings inside her, because she was attached to him at some point, but now he had she had to kill him. Oh my gosh. Yes, it does give you this roller coaster of feelings. You can cry from this. And with this, with Kanjuro dying and Orochi dying, it would signify the end of this Kurozumi line and of these two traitors basically dying at the same time. It would be somehow kind of beautiful in a way. At the same time, we were hoping for some moments with Orochi that didn't happen because he died. We're not sure if they will ever happen. For example, him meeting Kamurasaki once again, learning that she's not dead and she's actually Hiyori. That would be super satisfying. And as I said before, his character arc doesn't look finished, especially for a character like him, who had this very interesting backstory. And we saw his character development through his backstory, and now at this point where he is now, you would think that there needs to be some kind of ending for all of this, some kind of satisfying ending. Maybe him also seeing red scabbards, maybe these final moments, maybe him realizing the consequences of his actions, not just abruptly end before the actual ending of his story. Obviously, theories are theories. I can't say for sure what is true and what is not, but in this case, we only have two possibilities. Either he is dead and that's it, goodbye, no more Orochi, or he survives and he comes back. I have a problem with him surviving because I feel like he needs to die in this arc, and coming back only to die again would be a bit silly. And also him dying is a nice symbol of this turning completely into a pirate country. Because with Orochi there was some kind of semblance of that. Maybe it's kind of like a normal country because Shogun, he still was from Wano. We still had this normal shogunate. He was from a very important Kurozumi family. Yes, this family was not respected, but still it was important, and it was from Wano. And we had at least this little heaven, flower capital, where people of Wano, at least some of them, could live normally and eat normal food, live normal lives. But Orochi's death symbolizes the end of all of this, that Kaido does not need this facade anymore. And especially since we already have two Yonkos as major antagonists, we have enough on our plate as it is. And in this crazy environment, I think Orochi and Kanjuro, they just don't have any space to act. They don't have anything significant to do left. Because Kanjuro already played his role, and you can argue that Orochi played his own too. Yes, I do feel like there are some still things that he could do, but at the same time, him dying is actually better for the plot than him staying alive. And we already were promised that the next chapter is going to be a very emotional one, that Oda's editor almost cried or even cried. First time ever reading One Piece, as I read in some Twitter post. I'm not sure what to expect, but as I said, Orochi's story doesn't squeeze in anymore, doesn't have any place here. If we're going for something more serious, he's just not viable anymore. But I wanted to just say that there is a way of him returning. There is hope if you want Orochi back for some reason, if you also feel like his character arc has not finished in a satisfying way. There is way. Maybe he will turn into Yamato no Orochi, but without his main head. So these 7 hands, they would not be completely sentient, and he would become that kind of beast, so not completely revived. He would still be alive, but he would not be himself. What role would he play as this beast? Just add to the chaos that Wano War is? I'm not particularly sure, but just had this thought in my head and I wanted to share it with you. That's the main thing I wanted to discuss about the latest chapter. There was also an interesting point about Yamato, but I think I said enough about this in my live reaction that now I feel that Yamato just needs there to be someone to continue Oden's will, so it doesn't particularly needs to be her, it can be Luffy or someone else. She just feels that there has to be a new Oden. It's not like she sees herself fully 100% as Oden and she thinks that yes, I am Oden, I am male and all of that. No, she just wants someone to continue this will to open borders of Wano. She wants Oden to be here in spirit somehow. So that point I think was very interesting when she told Luffy, then you be him, you be Oden. I think that is a very important conversation for understanding her character. I'm not sure if we will get any kind of flashback about Ace and Yamato, and especially after how the latest chapter ends, it doesn't look like we will have any flashbacks right now. Probably something will happen. I'm talking about predictions for the next chapter. What is going to happen? I don't know. Maybe someone will die. It would be crazy, like 2 deaths in a row, 2 chapters, 2 deaths, one after another. That would be insane, but it can happen. It can. What if someone of our closest friends, what if Momo dies? That would be terrible for one and for everyone. But what if it's not a death, but some other happening, some other event that is so terrible that you can't help but get moved by it? I'm not really sure what can happen of this significance that made a man who didn't shed a tear before to be so moved by this chapter in a sad way. So what are your thoughts? What do you think? Firstly on Orochi, but we discussed enough of this in my live reactions. So my question for today is, what do you think will happen in the next chapter? What tragic thing can occur that will be in line with the plot, will be interesting, and hopefully will not include one of the Straw Hats dying? What are your thoughts? Share them in the comments down below. That's it for now. Thanks for watching and see ya!